Good evening, everyone. How are you? Excuse me, I have business to attend to. Not only the first one of the day, but the first one of the week, it has to be said. Um, Mainly because there's been no drink in the house since last weekend. Yes, been up to Aldi today, and this is a new one on me. This Reichenbacher Pilsner. It's not my usual tipple, but I thought I'd give it a go. It was, it passed the two tests that any kind of lager beer has to pass for me. Is how much does it cost? Yes, that's acceptable. And what's the percentage? And I think this is, 4.5%. So anything north of 4%, I'm happy with. And the price was right. So I thought I'd give it a go. Anyway, who we got in? Brad Matthews. How are you, Brad? Chip Young, Jason Carter. RF, how are you, mate? Mick Brooks. And then just scrolling up the chat here, I see Ozzy's in. You need to watch Ozzy's latest video where he's doing a little bit of rather cool jazzy bluesy sort of stuff. I just watched it a few minutes ago and it is rather very good, actually. Ian Clark, how are you, mate? Anton, Fender Bender, Das Schaff, all the usual crew, really. Nice to have you back in, Johnny. Yes, we missed you last week. Rick, not Rickenbacker, Reichenbacher, but I did make the, I did think, well, what other beer could a guitarist drink? No need to pay me, Ozzy. It's a fantastic bit of playing, mate. Nice to put a face to the, to the music as well. Aldi, what's wrong with Lidl? We haven't got a Lidl in town, mate. That's the only thing. So anyway, let me just outline what's going to be happening on the channel this week. Tomorrow, there's the Saturday solo, which seems to be a thing I've settled into doing, and it's, well, you can see it behind me. It's that Sub-Zero P90 semi-hollow Telecaster thing. They're getting a proper workout in a sort of extended solo. And then on Monday, we are doing, we're basically doing another solo, but not one of mine this time. And it's a band who I've never featured on the channel before. I'm sort of, I've been through all the Knopfler and the Gilmore and the Clapton and the Gary Moore and, all of the usual, all of the kind of obvious suspects. And I'm starting to branch out a little bit and do people that, I haven't featured because I've been, kind of too busy featuring the, Knopflers and Gilmores and Moores and so on. I'll let the cat out the bag now. I won't make you guess. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of their guitar solos. Fantastic John Frusciante solo, an absolute masterclass in minimalist perfection, I think. Then on Tuesday, we are looking at, it's another one of these kind of my 5 favourite performance videos, and it's going to be about a band who I haven't really talked about much on the channel at all. We're talking about my 5 favourite Beatles performances. And I know immediately the shutters have come down on a lot of people's, kind of ideas because, I know there are a lot of people who say, I don't like the Beatles. Well, I do. So I'm doing a video on them. Wednesday, another theory video, sort of a follow-on from last week's or this week's rather, where we were talking about, pentatonics and keys and that sort of stuff. Then on Thursday, we're doing, it's a comparison video. Basically, does a Telecaster rather need brass bridge saddles to sound like a Telecaster? So do you remember that Glary guitar that I bought from, it was donated to Zoe's place, but I made a donation to Zoe's place in lieu of giving them the guitar. John, how about doing Ty Tabor from King's X? Excellent suggestion, mate. Consider it on the list. No, not Danny California. Yes, Jimmy, the Beatles do have great chord sequences, which is what attracts me to them. I do like a nice chord progression. But yes, Thursday we're looking at do brass bridge saddles make a difference on a Telecaster? And I've just literally today finished filming the comparison video, and I got to tell you, the results surprised me, and I'll leave it at that. So talk amongst yourselves about whether you think which way you think it's going to go. I'll just give a, not that he needs it from me, because he's a huge musical presence, but I just want to give a shout out to a documentary that was on TV years ago by a guy called Howard Goodall. Okay, Ozzy, I might do a video on that one, mate. It is one of my standard chord sequences that I tend to use whenever I'm checking out a clean tone. That's Ozzy saying he'd love to learn that sort of jazzy comping thing I did yesterday on the Sub-Zero video. Yeah, anyway, Howard Goodall did a video on, rather a TV documentary on, the impact that the Beatles made, and it is so worth a watch. Just the impact that they had on music and the things that they did in popular music that hadn't been done before. I got to agree with you. Podrick broke up more than 50 years ago, and they're still one of the best bands ever. Yeah, and I think a large part of the Beatles' problem, if you can call it a problem, is that their music is just so much part of the background of our culture. It's embedded into it, and it's so easy to take it for granted. But it's the impact that they had was phenomenal. Watch the Howard Goodall. Just search YouTube for Howard Goodall, Lennon and McCartney, and you'll find the video easily. It's a fantastic, fascinating watch. I have brass saddles on my telly, and with a steel twin pickup, it sounds now like a telly. See, that's interesting, because I think I've got a steel twin pickup in the bridge on that sort of Partscaster Telecaster you can see hanging on the wall, the knackered looking one. And it sounds, well, I see what you're saying, because when you put that boost on when you kick in those extra winds on the bridge pickup, it does sound much more Les Paul like, I find. It's just got that extra girth. But when you kind of switch it out, when you just go back to the regular winds, I think it's a cracking little bridge pickup for a telly. Yeah, I'm surprised here, because most of the comments about the Beatles are, people acknowledging how great they were. And usually, I've got to tell you, when I bring up the topic of the Beatles in any sort of musical discussion, it's a very divisive topic to bring up. I find there are people who just say, "I hate the Beatles. I don't like the Beatles. I don't see what all the fuss was about." But it seems not here. Maybe it's we're all gentlemen of a certain age. Evening, Craig. How are you, mate? The Beatles, a musical appreciation and analysis by Howard Goodall, CBE, on YouTube. Yes, that'll be the one, Michael. Thank you for pitching it. Oh, Michael Dodson. John, Status Quo are coming to Stockton. Are they really? It's not really the Quo, though, without Rick, is it? Deco's never liked them. John, is the bridge width more critical to the sound than brass saddles? I don't know, but this is probably one of the things I'm going to be checking out. I basically got that Glary. I purchased that Glary because I wanted to do another Telecaster project. In truth, I love tinkering with guitars, and doing a project seems to be, it's easy to do on a Telecaster. So yeah, we're going to be checking out all kinds of things about, you know, what you can do to a Telecaster on that sort of test bed Glary guitar, really. I took an Allen key to the 3 brass saddles on my Telecopy and load them as much as I could without getting an intolerable amount of buzz. Plays much better now and I like it better than before. Yes, well, you know, that's it. You know, they are, you know, as I say, eminently adjustable, a Telecaster. And Musical Truth by Mark Devlin is a good book. Okay, Deco, I shall check that out. As a novice songwriter just learning how to compose, I'm really starting to appreciate Lennon and McCartney a lot more. Yeah, this is it. I mean, there is a school of thought which I subscribe to. You've got more tellies than me now, John. Yes, sorry, Colin. Sorry. There is a school of thought that I subscribe to that says that all of the pundits in the sort of late 50s who said rock and roll was a passing fad, and everybody laughed at them, were essentially right. Because, you know, by 1960, you know, Elvis was sort of, he was coming out the arm and he was embarking on an awful movie career. You know, Chuck Berry was in prison, I think. You know, Jerry Lee Lewis was in disgrace. Little Richard had gone back to the church. Eddie Cochran, Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, they were all dead. And rock and roll had become like, you know, Pat Boone and Fabian and, you know, all of these kind of matinee idols. It had lost its edge. And then along come the Beatles and repackage essentially, you know, the same chord sequences and songwriting tricks that Cole Porter and Irving Berlin had used, you know, decades before, but, you know, for a modern audience. And, you know, it wasn't strictly the 3-chord, you know, wop bop baloo bop kind of rock and roll anymore. It was something more sophisticated. It had evolved. What's that, Jeffrey? I haven't been to Stockton since 1971. Went to see the Cream Farewell concert from my first night staying in Middlesbrough. Well, you might find it's changed a little bit if you revisit, mate. Yes, I am showing my age. Sorry, just reading the chat here. I need to get better glasses, don't I? Which Beatles album do you prefer, Sgt. Pepper or Magical Mystery Tour? For me, the latter is far better. If I had to pick a favourite Beatles album, that would be... well, can I pick two? Because I always think of them as like sort of a double album anyway, even though they weren't. It would be Rubber Soul and Revolver. You know, it's just I feel that those two albums just work really well together, and they could have easily been a single, well, a double album, you know, released at the same time. Yes, I'm with you on that, Dave. Dave Lewis is just saying there, love the Sub-Zero guitar tones and body, but those black block inlays put me off. China Mike has stickers for a neck. Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Yeah. I have put stickers on the neck of a guitar before, the Harley Benton CST-24. The supposed perloid inlays on that were just essentially just grey plastic. So I put some phony abalone stickers on, and they last a while and then they fall off. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with you, Dave, on the block inlays on that Sub-Zero guitar. But you know, it wasn't a deal breaker for me, put it that way. But I would have preferred just simple dots. You know, but I tell you what, it's a lovely guitar to play. It's I mean, it came set up absolutely brilliantly, which is more than you can say for that Epiphone Les Paul I had a little while ago. Trying to get back, hey mate. Well, glad to hear you getting your mojo back, mate. Beatles want to hold your hands, but Stones wanted satisfaction. Yeah, you see, this whole kind of thing, it's often kind of pitched like that, isn't it? You know, Beatles versus the Stones, or in the 90s, I guess it was Blur versus Oasis. You know, and I couldn't tell, I pay absolutely no attention to the hit parade, as I would have called it these days, but I imagine there's similar kind of rivalry going on now, and it's just, you know, it's entirely, you know, confected, isn't it? Just to kind of you know, if you can make something a little bit tribal, then you can boost sales by encouraging the members of your tribe to go out and buy your product. Yes, Podrick, I agree with you, mate. Revolver is probably the most polished album. Geronimo prefers Blur to Oasis any day. Yeah, you see, I didn't really have a dog in that fight. I've got to be honest with you. I wasn't really that interested in either of them at the time. But over like the last 20 years, I came to sort of appreciate Oasis in a way that never really happened for Blur. I don't know. I mean, Park Life wasn't bad, although it was a bit of a pastiche of the Small Faces, I thought. But then again, you could say that Oasis was a pastiche of the Beatles, so you know there's no kind of winner in that argument. But just, you know, and a song like "Don't Look Back in Anger," I think is just a fantastic song, whichever way you stack it up. Hello all, I just finished The Musical Human by Michael Spitzer. A bit heavy in parts, but an interesting read. Okay, Ian. Well, that's on my reading list, which is growing exponentially because I just don't have time to sit and get my head into a good book at the moment. Uh, where are we? Despite being from Manchester, I always preferred Blur. Well, fair enough, mate. Yeah, okay. I thought the Oasis Wall of Sound too much and muddy. Loved the albums and songs. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw that Rick Beato kind of tear down, you know, what makes this song great on Don't Look Back in Anger. And just when he kind of stripped the master tracks down, you know, to kind of, there were so many parts on that, and you think, you know, that it was obvious, you know, that you know they were in the studio and they had all the toys and they were going to use all the toys, you know. White Album is great, but not cohesive Beatles, more a bunch of solo efforts. Yes, yeah, I'd go along with that. It was, I mean, towards the end, mind you, While My Guitar Gently Weeps is on the White Album, isn't it? And just letting a little bit of a cat out of a little bit of a bag. There might be a solo analysis of that coming up in the coming weeks. In fact, yes, there is. I've done the solo from While My Guitar Gently Weeps. You can get really good bird stickers like on the PRS that won't break up. That will break up those black inlays. Yes, Dave. But here's the thing, mate. Am I the only person that doesn't like those bird inlays on a PRS? I just think they're a bit too over the top. I much prefer the more tasteful moon inlays that PRS used to do, but seem to have stopped for some reason. Well, I guess not for some reason. It's just because more people want the bird inlays, but I prefer the moons. Anyone remember Franz Ferdinand? Ferdinand, the lead singer's grandmother, was from South Shields. Yeah, they were a bit of a one-hit wonder, weren't they? Take Me Out, that was it. And every pub band in this area, at least, you know, did a cover of that. So, okay, Jimmy, you prefer the moon inlays as well. Yeah, there's just something understated and classy about those moon inlays where the birds look a bit sort of gaudy to me. As soloists, Lennon or McCartney? Quite controversial, I would say, because let's face it, Paul McCartney is the man who brought us the Frog chorus and Mull of Kintyre. But overall, I would say McCartney. I can forgive him the Frog chorus and Mull of Kintyre for, you know, just, I mean, a song like My Love, I think is a beautiful song. Band on the Run, you know, and just I don't know. I did have a bit of a problem with John Lennon being, you know, and Imagine always grates on me, and that casts a big shadow over everything that he did solo. You know, but greetings, Michael Mindillo. Greetings from Florida. He says, "Oh well, greetings from Redcar, mate. I don't know if you're if you're on the beer in Florida at the moment, but if not, I'll have an extra one for you." Yes, Lee, you make a good point there. Harrison's All Things Must Pass. Fantastic album. Yeah, I think, I mean, if I had to pick a favourite Beatles song, and this is letting a little bit of a cat out of the bag again for Tuesday's video, it would probably be, well, in the top 5 Beatles songs would probably be While My Guitar Gently Weeps, which is, you know, a Harrison song. And I often think that he doesn't get, you know, people think Beatles and they think Lennon and McCartney, you know, and we often, or people often forget that what a great songwriter George was, frankly. No, I haven't, Dave. No, I haven't got that the Let It Be Naked album. I didn't know there was a Let It Be Naked album, to be honest with you. Why would anybody shell out a fortune on a Rickenbacker guitar? Really? I mean, why? Because they, you know, name another guitar that can sound like a Rickenbacker, unless it's a copy of a Rickenbacker. So if you want that Rickenbacker sound, which isn't a sound I'm, you know, that enamored with, despite my loving the Beatles, I suppose. But it's not a sound that I find I could particularly use. But if that's the sound you want, then there aren't many other candidates for, you know, a guitar that will give you that tone. Cornucopia, hello sir, what's your opinion on Harley Benton guitars? Look like they are pretty good value, pretty good for the money. I'm guessing you're new to the channel, mate. I absolutely love Harley Benton guitars. I've had many of them and still have a couple of them now, and they punch well above their weight, and you know, they are just great guitars for, I mean, you know, it's a Harley Benton Les Paul copy is, I think, the equal of at least an Epiphone, and it's half the price. The only downside with Harley Bentons is that they do tend to outsource their quality control to the customer. Oh, thank you, Con. Thank you, mate. That is very generous of you. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Cheers. Yes, as I say, Harley Benton guitars, great guitars, but as I say, you do get the odd bad one. But given that, you know, you've got an easy return policy, I've always found that, you know, just send it back, you know, if it's defective. But they do tend to let the odd bad one sneak through, I would say more so than certain other manufacturers. But then again, you know, I had an absolute stinker of an Epiphone recently. John, what's your favourite Mark Knopfler solo song? Why I Man is mine as a Geordie living. Yeah, that would probably be mine as well. I've got to tell you, I'm not a huge fan of Mark Knopfler's solo output. I remember buying his first solo album, Golden Heart, which came out at some point in the 90s, and really, really, really putting in a lot of effort to try and like it, and I just couldn't get there. And it just, I don't know, it's his solo stuff to me sounds, since like, well, essentially most of what he did post Dire Straits just has a blandness to it that just I can't kind of find a way in. Really, there's nothing on it that makes me hair stand up on end like the old Dire Straits stuff. So but yeah, Way I Man is, I think it's because of the Auf Wiedersehen pet association with that one. Yes, I have heard some David Knopfler, and he does sound uncannily like Mark, and I think it's so sad that those two guys haven't made up. I mean, they fell out when David left the band, and saw a recent interview with Mark, and he says, we haven't spoken in decades, which I think that's so sad. Have you heard the album Mark Knopfler did with Chet Atkins? Yes, I did. And again, do you remember? Thank you for reminding me, actually. I had that on vinyl. It was... I had a CD player at the time when that came out as well, but for some reason I bought it on vinyl. I think it was because like the local record shop didn't have it in stock on CD, so I bought it on vinyl. And it's one of those, you remember when I did that video a few weeks ago about that Shuggy Otis album, the Al Cooper album? I said, certain things drop through the cracks and you forget about them. I'd forgotten about that album. What was it called? I can't remember. But it very much, a lot of people said it very much reminded them of the Leicester and Chester, or Chester and Leicester albums that Chet did with Les Paul. I shall Neck and Neck. That's the one, Anton. Thank you. Yes. Oh well, I shall be downloading that tomorrow, or Spotifying it or something, or getting a copy of it somewhere or other. I'm sure it'll be on Spotify. Telegraph Road has a lovely solo. Yes, it does, Jimmy. Jim Mojito. I did a analysis of that solo a little while ago, so just search my YouTube channel and you'll find it. Indeed, Brad. It's St. George's. I meant to do this earlier on. Happy St. George's Day, everybody. And let's raise a glass to all the great English songwriters and musicians. Hear, hear. Cheers, everyone. Oh, thank you, Jason. Thank you very, very much. There is really no need, but I shall be making a donation to Zoe's. Do you still listen to vinyl? No, I don't still listen to vinyl. Like most people who, the kind of people who bang on about vinyl these days. They've usually. I mean, I've got a tattoo here. I've got another one there. How about that one? That's me wedding ring. That one. It's because the wife's middle name is Rose, you see. I was seriously in the good books when I got that done. But the kind of people who bang on about vinyl, they've usually got a big sleeve tattoo and they've got kind of a quiff hair and a big bushy beard, and hipsters, I think they call them, don't they? And they all bang on about vinyl, but they all listen to music on their iPhones, don't they? But no, I lived through the misery of vinyl the first time around, and I mean, absolutely no rush to relive that. Having to, every time you listen to a record, you're wearing it out, and if you've got a kind of blue tack a coin on the top of the stylus to stop it jumping out of the groove every time the dog goes within 3 meters of the record plate. No, I don't listen to vinyl anymore. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Robster Boy. Oh, Matty's in, Matthew Lockwood. Is it too early to mention 10cc, says Jason Carter. Of course not. It's never too early to mention 10cc. A great, great undersung band. Oh, I've already got a beer there. I was getting another beer out. You see it. Blame it on the age. Fantastic, fantastic band. And there will be a video that I'm thinking about putting together on 10cc. I haven't decided what yet. I would love to do like a solo analysis from one of their songs, but you know, there's not many guitar solos in 10cc songs, it has to be said. Or some kind of analysis. I might work it into the theory videos at some point. Thank you, Johnny. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Are the Vanson tuners good quality? Yes, they are. I've used Vanson tuners on a bunch of different guitars. And they do that thing that tuners need to do, which is to just get on with getting your guitar in tune and keeping it in tune. You know, the job of a good guitar, of like tuning pegs, is you shouldn't notice them. You only notice a bad set of tuners, don't you? And, you know, Vanson tuners, I mean, I've got, in fact, I've got them here. Shall we have a live unboxing or unenveloping? These are the Vanson tuners that are going to go on the Sub-Zero guitar. And, you know, they don't come in fancy packaging. They're just, you know, wrapped in a bit of cardboard and plastic and stuff. Let's rip them open. So there we go. I can call this an unboxing video now and get a lot more views, can't I? So there we go. So these are your typical Vanson tuners. There you go. That's completely unremarkable, but you know, you just turn it and it has a really smooth, you know, kind of well lubricated feel to it, which is, you know, I mean, that Sub-Zero guitar, the tuners on it are the one weak point, really. And it does, I would say, not annoy me, but it does puzzle me a little bit that, you know, if I can buy a set of decent tuners like these Vansons for 20 quid retail, then they're probably about half that, you know, as a wholesale price. You know, or let's say 10 or 15 quid wholesale price, you know, that would really improve the you know, the end user experience of a guitar like that Sub-Zero, for not a lot of money on the price tag of the guitar. So, you know, why do they put kind of cheap, crappy, well, not crappy tuners on it, when you can get good ones that are also cheap, you know? Yeah, Darrell Brown reviewed a set of Riot tuners. Looked very interesting, but pricey at 150 quid a set. Yes, he does like his high-end gear, doesn't he, Darrell? Yes, Nancy, I agree with you. Not many guitar solos on any modern songs. The last band that God, it's nearly 20 years ago, but I still think of them as a modern band, which kind of probably says more about me. Where most of the songs had guitar solos was a band called The Feeling, and I thought they were an absolutely fantastic band, and I predicted that they would be huge, which of course cursed them, didn't it? You know, they disappeared without trace. 10cc's Strawberry Studios is in my hometown, Stockport. Yes, I don't know what's the deal with Strawberry Studios now. Is it still a studio? Is it still, you know? I doubt it's, you know. called Strawberry Studios, but you know, is it still operating? Does anyone know? I should Google it, really, shouldn't I? Yes, yeah, that's the. Are those Riot tuners where it just looks like that he put on a Strat, and it just looks like the strings are going down into like a kind of a sinkhole or something. Do anyone know about Coffee Break backing tracks? They're free. I've seen their backing tracks on YouTube a few times. Yes. When it comes to YouTube backing tracks, can I tell you my pet hate? The thing that really just annoys the bejesus out of me. It's when you think, okay, that's smooth backing track in A minor or something like that, and you put it on, and there's 2 minutes of some bloke improvising over it at the start of it. I didn't click on the link because I wanted to see somebody else playing a solo. I clicked on the link because I wanted to play a solo. Okay. And I can't remember which one it is, but there's one where he always does that. And it's just, I just won't use his backing tracks anymore because it's just annoying. What about the auto tuners, John? Do you mean those things that Gibson put on a few years ago? Yeah, I don't have any experience of them, but it just seemed such a ridiculous thing. You know, if you're spending $2,000 on a Les Paul, you're probably going to know how to tune it. You don't need some little kind of motorized robot things spinning the pegs for you to get your guitar in tune, hopefully. And if you do, then you know just go and buy a Glary or something and learn to tune up manually. Oh, that's it, isn't it? Quist, yes. He does backing tracks for Guitar Techniques magazine too. Luckily, without him improvising off. Yeah, and it's always like, you know, if you're going to put a solo up on YouTube, just be honest and say, this is me having a jam over this backing track. And if you want to download the backing track, click here and join me Patreon or get it on Bandcamp or something. But it's just, you know, just if you're putting up a jam track, just put the damn jam track up. Yes, those Murphy's Labs Les Pauls. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't pretend to get it. I'm obviously not part of the target demographic for guitars like that. Even Bottleneck Bob's in. How are you, Bob? Hope you're doing well, mate. Since electric tuners are plentiful, I think my ears have deteriorated. You make a good point there, Jay, right? I mean, back when I started teaching the guitar in sort of 91, 30 years ago, dear me, I feel old. The vast majority of the students that I started teaching back then all used to tune up by ear. You know, it's not that sort of, you know, electronic tuners weren't available, but they weren't free. You know, which, like, you know, now even I've got a free phone app that I can use as a guitar tuner. So a lot of people used to tune up by ear, and you know, when I was teaching people like things like string bends and stuff, or how to figure out chords in a song, you know, it's all about sort of learning to hear what sounds in tune and what doesn't. And I have noticed over the last, you know, 30 years that as everybody's first way of tuning a guitar is with an electronic tuner. That's how they learn from day one when they play a guitar. that sort of pitch awareness, being able to tell when something is in tune or isn't, it has deteriorated on average. Or you could tune up out of tune with pitch pipes. Yes, Anton. Yes, at my first pitch pipe, I rapidly realised that one of the strings was in tune. One of the notes on the pitch pipe was in tune. So you found which one was in tune on your set of pitch pipes and then relative tune to that. What's your opinion of Godin guitars? I love them. I had one briefly in the 90s. It was like a Strat style guitar with 3 sort of Hot Rails style pickups. And the only reason I didn't keep it, because I had it sort of on approval from a music shop that I used to have a good relationship with. Had it for about a month, did a few gigs with it. And the only reason I didn't keep it was because I already had a really good Strat guitar, and my Strat was better than, or was more my kind of cup of tea in terms of a Strat than the Godin was. But a mate of mine had like a beautiful Telecaster style Godin, sorry. That was, it was a beautiful thing with a carved flame maple top and humbuckers, I think. It was a beautiful guitar. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Love them. Excuse me, I just missed something there, and I just want to scroll up the chat. Bob saying auto tuners were installed on a Gibson Darkfire that my mate bought. Every time he went for a bend, the guitar thought he was out of tune and tried to retune it automatically. Yeah, Rhett Shull talks about a similar thing in one of the videos he did with Rick Beato, where the robot tuners would try and retune you mid solo, and I don't know. It just seems such a it was a solution to a problem that wasn't there, really. Sort of thing that a non-guitarist would think would be a good idea for a guitar, a good invention to put on a guitar. Hi, John. Any chance of doing a Robert Plant in the style of tutorial? Okay, I'm not that familiar with Robert's solo work, it has to be said, but yeah, I can look into that. I've got to tell you, I did see Robert Plant on TV, on I think it was from like Glastonbury a few years ago, and it was just awful. It was just kind of, just like really, really kind of like a really badly rehearsed band that weren't particularly tight in any way. But, he was Robert Plant, so he got away with it. Anybody tried the Evertune bridge? No, not me, mate, but I have seen a few videos on it, and it looks an interesting thing, like a bridge that won't let your guitar go out of tune. But again, it's I don't know. It's like, was that ever a problem that needed a solution? If your guitar goes out of tune, then there's obviously some underlying cause for that, like bad tuners or a badly cut note, or your intonations not quite right. So it's like, I don't know. It interested me at the time. I thought that's an interesting idea, but it wasn't something that I thought I have to have one. But then again, got rave reviews, didn't it? Sorry about that, Lee. Yes, I did mention doing something on Leslie West. It's in the pipeline, mate. It's just I simply haven't had time to sort of devote to it. Some solos and some kind of videos I can have done in like a couple of hours in the morning, and others can take days, and I get the feeling that anything by Leslie West is going to take days to do. So I haven't had the time to devote to it, but because I want to do it justice, you know. But it is on the to-do list. But you know, I simply haven't had time yet. I hadn't, you know, kind of forgotten about it. It's on. I have a little notepad file on my computer that I with solos that I tick off and artists that I look at that I need to get round to. And Leslie West is on there, but I shall make more of an effort, mate. Sorry, I haven't got round to it yet. Where are we? Any thoughts on the Spark amp, John? Yes, I nearly bought one, actually. I came that close to buying a Spark amp because apparently it's, you know, it's positive grid, so it's got all of the bias amp kind of models in it. But I just thought, well, I've got bias amp already, and the rest of the stuff that the Spark amp does, like the sort of automated jam tracks that it creates for you and everything. And I just thought, would I really use that? And I came to the conclusion I probably wouldn't. But you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna. What I think I'll probably end up doing is waiting for them to appear on the used market. You know, whether you know, when they're a bit cheaper, because anything that's that sort of, when they came out last year, didn't they? So you know, they haven't had time to sort of appear on the used market yet and get a bargain. But I might just pull the trigger once they start cropping up on eBay, you know, for 100, 200 quid, something like that. Have you played a Shergold guitar? I played one of the old ones from the 70s, yes. The school I went to, you know, when I was a young whippersnapper, was we had a bit of a young and trendy music teacher, and you know, as well as like the violins and the cellos and stuff for the music department, he started buying electric guitars and drum kits and amplifiers and stuff. And the electric guitar that was the school electric guitar was a Shergold, and played it more than once in a school concert. Don't ask me what it was like. I can't remember. We're talking sort of 1980 or round about then. How about a video on remembering the notes on the fretboard? I tend to do that all the time, actually. You know, when I'm saying like, and you know, and target this note and target that note. And basically, the way I learned it is, rather than trying to memorize the fretboard as an exercise and just learn the fretboard, learn where one note is that's going to be of use to you in this solo that you're playing, and then the next solo, learn where one really useful note is going to be on that part of the neck in that solo, and gradually, you know, you start to remember it much more effectively, I think, than doing some memorization exercise. Because when you do a memorization exercise, you can remember where the notes are when you're doing the exercise, and then you go to start playing a solo, and because your head is now in a different sort of mindset, and you're not thinking in terms of the exercise, all that stuff that you were doing with the exercise suddenly deserts you. That's been my experience. So I might look into it and, you know, and try and kind of do some sort of formalized way of doing it. But yeah, you'll notice whenever I mention a scale, I'll always say, and the notes in this scale are, and map them out on the fretboard. So when you kind of start just doing it as part of your everyday, you know, practice routine, it soon starts to take root and get some traction. A good way also is to use or write music, not using tab. Helps a lot. Yes, I would go with that, Johnny. I mean, I read music, but I wouldn't call myself a sight reader, you know. but you know, I can look at the. Somebody came up with a great quote the other day: "Tadpoles on telephone wires." Um, I can look at the tadpoles on telephone wires and figure out what, well, just and read where to play. But the thing is, it's like it takes me 10 minutes to play a 2-minute piece, you know, doing it that way. I should really practice it more, I guess. But yes, the guitar is really unique in that way. You know, it's a musical instrument where you don't learn where the notes are on the instrument in order to play it. You just kind of, I can't think of any other instrument where it's just, okay, do this and it makes the right noise. Don't think about why, which is essentially the way we all learn our first chords. Where are we? Only realised just this week that the guitar is a transposing instrument. The actual note heard on the guitar is an octave lower than shown on the stave. Yes, that is the case, you know, because a middle C is actually between the bass and treble clefs on, you know, like if you were reading piano, because that's why it's called middle C, it's in the middle. But on the guitar, it's the third space up, isn't it? On the treble clef, so it's written an octave out of kilter. I don't know, Dave. Does the spark work off batteries? I'm not sure, but that was another thing that sort of made me think about, you know, about the spark. Well, I've got the THR5, and you know that sort of fulfills my you know, practice amp needs really. Daryl did an Evertune review. They were talking about the Evertune bridge again, and it was that good. And if it was that good, the whole world would be using it by now. Yes, I hear what you're saying, mate. John, do you have different gauges on different guitars, or stick to one on each? I use 9s on the Tele and Strat and 10s on the Gibbo. Don't know why, but the Gibbo seems to want 10s. I use 10s on everything. And I just accept that something with a longer scale length, like a Fender scale length, is going to feel a bit tighter and a bit stiffer. It's part of what makes a guitar feel the way it feels, really. You know, a Telecaster has a really kind of, you know, stiff, tight, taut, tight as a drum kind of feel, whereas, you know, something like a, well, what have I got here? I haven't got anything in Gibson scale length in here, but the CST24, the Harley Benton, and my old Gordon Smith, that was a shorter scale length, and it felt a little bit slinkier as a result, and that made me play it differently, and that was, you know, part and parcel of the different playing experience of a different guitar. But no, I use the same 10 gauge strings on all guitars. Looking for a Strat project, would you recommend a Glary or a Harley Benton as a modding platform, John? I would probably say there's not a lot in it, to be honest. You know, you can buy a Harley Benton Strat. I think it's the ST20 for under 100 quid, and that's about the same price as you pay for the Glary. The problem with Glary is they always sell out really quick. You know, Kenneth Williams, tighter and stiffer. Yeah, we're getting some carry-on jokes there. Dear me, Bob, you have 12s on your Telecaster. Well, you've had your Weetabix, haven't you, mate? But Glary versus Harley Benton, there's not a lot to choose between them, to be honest with you. I suspect they're probably made in the same factories, or the same factory. So, you know, just whatever you can get your hands on first, because the Glarys do tend to sell out rather quick. But yeah, I do love tinkering with guitars, as I said. So, you know, that's why I'm doing all the mods on on the Glary, little by little, and showing you the difference on them. I think the string gauge and what tuning you prefer are important. 9 gauge in standard tuning, 10 gauge in E flat have a similar feel to me. Yeah, that's pretty true. The thing I would say though is that the one thing that never seems to be discussed when it comes, because there's been countless videos on, you know, which is the best string gauge. The thing which never seems to get discussed is string breakages. Until I went to 10 gauge strings, I used to snap strings like a man possessed. I just did. Eights I used to snap like straw, so I went up to nines. Nines I used to, you know, kind of snap, and, you know, doing a big bend. Oh, there's me E string gone, you know. And then as soon as I went to tens, you know, took a week or so to acclimatise to it, but then I'm not snapping strings anymore. I literally cannot remember the last time I snapped a string since I've used tens. I think my Graphtec bridge saves a lot of string breakages. Yeah, this is it. I mean, you know, if you've got a cheap bridge where, you know, where it's been cast and they haven't sort of, you know, got rid of the sort of rough edges from the casting, then it's obviously going to kind of chow through your strings. But you know, it's, as I say, since I've gone to tens, I've never had any string breakage problems. Tried 8 gauge once, was like playing fresh air. Yes, but Billy Gibbons uses 7s, doesn't he? And I suppose it all depends on how heavy you play with this hand. You know, how much grunt you put into the strings, and you know, when I get excited with myself, I do start kind of digging in a bit harder, and I suppose that's you know, a function of string breakage as well. The Reverend Billy Gibbons. Your video on Ernie Ball versus budget guitar strings was interesting, says Michael Clark. Yeah, I did that ages ago, a couple of years ago that now. It seems that the people who watch my videos are more kind of clued up on what was in the videos than I am, because I can't remember what conclusions I came to on that. It's, you know, churning these videos out, it's you do forget what was in each one. But yeah, I remember doing that. And but anyway, chaps, I'm nearly out of beer, and we've been on almost an hour. So, and I am starting to notice I'm getting a bit hungry, and it's curry night in the Robson household tonight. So, once again, everyone, I just can't believe that so many of you turn up to watch a fat bald lad drink beer and talk cobblers for an hour on a Friday night, but you seem to like it, so I'll keep on doing it. Thank you once again for turning up, everyone. It's been an absolute blast, as always. Don't forget, the video tomorrow goes up noon, 12 noon UK time. Check it out, and you'll hear that Sub-Zero guitar putting through its paces. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say, time, gentlemen, please.